the Lord uses people like you very seriously, just as much as he uses the missionaries. Sam is my name. I am a child of God. I love the Lord. I hope to glorify him with all of my life. I recently graduated campus, not so long ago, about a year or so ago, and I work as a clinician, a clinic officer, that is. Yeah, in a nutshell, that's who Sam is. Man, I don't think I have a favorite celebrity. I guess with time you get to see the people you really admire when you get to interact with them. There are those who you kind of didn't admire at first, and then as you get to know them, like, oh wow. But in terms of celebrities like pop culture, man, I don't know. I don't think I have a favorite. Probably some actor somewhere, but I wouldn't push a bunch of people to meet him. Hey man. What do you mean by crazy? What do you mean by crazy? By design, we ought to express our emotions, but by design, we do not express emotions in the same way. I'll give an example. I know for a fact that, generally speaking, for males, if he's angry or upset to a tipping point, their next course of action is physical violence. So if I got into an argument with you, Benan, and I saw things are turning sour, that would be our next course of, yes, it would be fists. But for ladies, I would say they generally, these are generalities, but generally speaking, it will be more verbal. Like, hey man, she will like tear you down with her words. Very serious words, almost as bad as a beating, or if not worse. And although that's general, I think it points to an underlying reality and an underlying truth that although the emotions remain more or less the same, like we all get angry, men get angry, we all feel tired, we all feel excited, and all the entire spectrum of emotions, both men and women experience them. But in terms of how we express those emotions, that's where the differences, I think, come in. And so, yes, men actually do express emotions. If the question is to say that, do we think men should express emotions like women do, then, or vice versa, if women should express emotions like men, I don't think that is how God intended for it to be. The way it's a good thing that sometimes turns sour. In brief, the purpose of life is for us as men to come to know the Lord and to be able to live, to seek him, to know the Lord, to seek him, and to be able, through our seeking him, be transformed, and which will change how we live towards him. Because the goal is to glorify him in everything you do. That's what Corinthians says. In everything you do, whether you eat or drink or sleep or dance or marry or remain single, do it for the glory of God. And I believe that is the purpose of life. And that's what I hope I achieve in my life. I haven't been in the medical world for long. I've been for slightly over a year. And it was still like as an intern. But in my 1 year's experience in the medical world, it can be very daunting at first because you're dealing with human beings, you're dealing with people's lives, people's loved ones' lives. You can't just take it for granted. And initially it can be a bit overwhelming. First of all, in school I felt a bit shielded because there's a CU, there is like you live in a very close-knit community, especially on the campus I went to. So you find we are kind of shielded from the harsh realities of what's out there, because I'll go out and of course there are people doing all sorts of things in campus, but generally speaking, you are kind of shielded because of the people you've surrounded yourself with. Whereas when I go into internship, you're just thrown in with a bunch of people who come from all sorts of different backgrounds with all kinds of beliefs, and it can be very daunting at first because you will feel like, man, some things you're just never prepared for. All kinds of conversations, things that you consider taboo as a Christian to joke and talk about are the things we want to talk about. And I'm pretty sure it's not just in the medical world. I'm pretty sure it cuts across different fields of work. Another thing that I guess also was a bit hard hitting for me was death. Oh my God, death initially, it would be I would take hard blows when any of my patients would die and things like that. Like, I remember even waking up at night thinking about that. And on one occasion, a friend of mine asked me whether I used the opportunity of being a clinician to like spread the gospel, and at that time it hadn't even crossed my mind because I am like constantly just thinking about the dynamics of patient care and things like that. But I guess the wheels started turning, and the point I'm trying to make is that it initially can be very daunting. But when I realized personally that it was a mission ground for me, I remember even when I just started, I was feeling a bit envious of my friends who had gone into ministry and things like that, because I felt, man, these guys are the ones really glorifying God. Until it dawned on me that, I'm actually doing the work of the Lord in helping people come back to proper health so that they can go out with strength and serve the Lord. Yes. No, of course not. Science doesn't answer everything. Science is a tool, a very useful one, that helps us study the world, helps us observe. The reason as to why I can go to work and be confident about the medications I give people is because of science. But science can't tell you why you hate your neighbor. Science can't tell you why you feel bitterness against your father. Science can't, or it can, but in part. There's so many things science can't do. It can't tell you why X and Y happen. Science can't tell you about the human condition. Science won't tell you that you're a sinner. Science won't tell you that you need God. So it's a useful tool when it comes to studying the world, but when it comes to how we ought to live our lives and how we ought to direct our lives, science does very little in showing us that. Perfect example is if science was the answer to all our issues, our heart issues, our sin issues, if science was what would help thieves stop stealing, that means researchers and all the best scientists in the world ideally should be the most morally upright people. And yet you hear of divorces left, right, and center by very prominent scientists. I think Stephen Hawking was married like 2 or 3 times, and all sorts of crazy stuff. So yes, that's, I think, a perfect example. Hope that what I have shared has connected with you on a personal level. If you're out there, maybe you're in campus, maybe you're a clinician just like me, or you're doing anything else, there are lots of people who love the Lord and are seeking to serve Him in whatever place they have been placed, whether it is in a mission ground directly, dealing with students in ministry, or whether it is as an engineer somewhere, or a doctor, or a nurse, or a teacher. Whatever it is you might be doing, the Lord uses people like you very seriously, just as much as He uses the missionaries. So take your school seriously, take your life seriously, take your existence is not an accident, no matter what the world says. Thank you. Bye.